Look at all that light. And we're live. And we're live right at the intense light spot. Okay. If I move in any direction, I'm going to knock something off this desk and everybody's going to hear it because of this sick microphone. That's okay.
Do you know what I really appreciated?
Yeah.
Just hearing Andy backstage.
Yeah.
I love when the guests have quality audio.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
He was just asking me about the mic because he was like, oh, it sounds really nice. And I was like, man, you sound really clear. But he likes this. So I think people like the Yeti. It's, again, just $100. Simple microphone, USB, plugs right in. I have a Mac. I don't think I had to do anything or set anything up or download anything. I think it just started working.
Andy, you can go. We're just going to do tech all day.
Yeah, this is just going to be a regular old show. Give everybody a few seconds to get here. As you know, the famous Andy Panko is sitting in the background, getting ready to unleash his fury on the AUM world.
Sharpening his swords.
Yeah. So, guys, just to give you a little structure, today we're going to be talking about marketing. We'll talk about his Facebook channel, going live on Facebook, his group, leading into YouTube, long form content, hearing where people are coming from, and then we'll start to lean into his business structure, fee only, and it'll just carry into there. And then we'll start talking about AUM and what he's passionate about. So we had a conversation about this already. So I'm excited to have it again.
How much of this have you spoiled yourself? Let's be honest.
No, he's a good speaker. I felt good, like we weren't digging in too much, but I could tell like this is going to be a passionate subject to talk about. And one of the better things is this: if you're going to do an interview with somebody and do a heads up, it should be 2 or 3 weeks out. If you talk to somebody a few days beforehand, a week beforehand, I 100% think it ruins it, and still at least ruins it a little bit, Corey, like you always say. But the farther back, the better, because then you're like, okay, this is going to be a good guest, but you don't feel like you stole the meat from the conversation because it was so long ago.
Good. I'm excited. Looking forward to it.
All right. A few comments already. What's up, guys? Nick is here. Jeff is here. Justin, Sid, Keith, Justin, twice.
Justin instigating in the background there.
He sure is. Yeah. He just, I envision Panko and Ruffalo getting jacked up for a UFC fight or something. One day, maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, you better go low on Ruffalo and get him before if he lands one. You're in trouble.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into some sort of functional show. We'll be back in a few. Cool. The intro always gets me going. Those are guests, by the way, not just random people. They're all people who have been on the show. And that'll be fun a year from now, figuring out who we fit in and how to fit everybody in. Have a Brady Bunch style video with all of our guests on there. So today we're going to be talking about, as everybody's been waiting for, the conversation with Andy Panko about obviously his amazing content as well as challenging the AUM model. He is fee-based. I will let him introduce himself. I think a lot of you guys, again, are already watching him, but I'm excited to let him talk about how he's been marketing and how it leads into his business and what he thinks the future of an advisor looks like. This is going to be a great conversation. So without further ado, I'll bring on Mr. Panko. How's it going?
Hey. What's happening, my dudes?
What's up?
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
That was a lot of hype. I don't know if I'm going to be able to live up to this.
It's all downhill from here. Every show is.
I'm very underwhelming. This may let a lot of people down today, but let's see what I can do.
I do the best I can to try to promote and be the hype man in the background. No matter how the show goes, at least it started off here. So,
yeah, you're the Flavor Flav to my Chuck D, I guess. I don't even know if you know what that means, but
yeah,
absolutely. We're trying to make taxes fun, right? So that's what we're doing.
It's all about. Just a quick comment about the headset. So this is actually like a $30 thing I found on Amazon. I used to just talk into, I had a little clip mic on my shirt, and then I just had the speakers running from my desktop, and then it gets some feedback and noise and stuff. So I went online, and it's like $30 on Amazon. I don't even know the brand, but thanks. I'm glad it sounds good on the other end for you too.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think. I mean, it's clear as day to me.
Cool. So yeah, thanks.
Yep. So, hey, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then we'll start leading into some questions.
Yeah, so name is Andy Panko. I live and have a practice in central New Jersey. Firm name is Tenon Financial, Tenon. It's a woodworking term. I'm big into woodworking, and Tenon made for a cool looking logo. Let's see, graduated college in 2000, went to school for finance. Quick backstory. I think this is important because it kind of leads up to why I'm doing what I'm doing and what my thoughts are about all this. So went to University of Delaware for finance, wanted to be an advisor, at least what I thought an advisor was, and interviewed at all the big name places that were looking for fresh meat on campus. And I won't name names, but it was multiple big insurance companies, brokerage firms, et cetera. And just quickly realized, yep, that one of them definitely had mutual in the name. They may be located in the Northwest. So we'll leave it at that.
It rhymed with poor Western.
Yeah.
Fourth Western. Okay, go ahead.
This happens to my screen sometimes. I think you can still see me. It stops in a little bit. There we go.
I saw that in one of your videos, so that was interesting. I think that's. Do you know why that happened?
Brandon. It's my thing. The glitch guy. Yeah, I don't know. So interviewed at those places, got turned off real fast. Quickly realized it was all just commission sales, sell. Interviewed at a bunch of these places, and the other guys working there would tell me things like it's dialing for dollars, and for every 100 calls you make, 2 are bound to say yes. And at the Truthful Mutual place, it was they referred to the holy grail of product sales is to sell the whole cash value life insurance. And I gave up on that idea, got turned off by it, and my resume was floating around online somewhere, and a job at a large insurance company found me. Not sales or advisory, it was an actuarial kind of back office corporate role. So I took it and did that for a year. It wasn't really that interesting. So kind of parlayed that into other experiences there. Long story short, spent 19 years in institutional banking, capital markets, investment banking across big banks and brokerages. Again, all on the institutional kind of corporate side. But was always interested in the personal finance. And a few years ago, this is 2016 or thereabouts, I had a relative who was transitioning into retirement and worked with a traditional Percent of Aum advisor. And she didn't have a lot, but for the service she was getting, I thought she was paying a lot because it was 1.5% because the guy billed himself as full service. She was trying to figure out how best to claim her Social Security, and she's in a position where she's divorced and of an age where she can still do this restricted application thing. And so there's some hair to it. And the advisor didn't know enough. He knew he didn't know what the answer would be or how to get there. So he was like, sorry, we think this is it, but we can't help you. So I helped her dig in and research Social Security and came to the right answer and absolutely fell in love. And like the proverbial light went off. Like, yes, this is what I thought planning should be when I was in college wanting to be an advisor. This is one of the most impactful decisions this person can make for her life. It's not farting around trying to get fancy with some model portfolios or whatever. It's this. This is the value add for her. So that reignited my flame to want to get into financial planning, specifically retirement focus, because that was sort of like my gateway into it was this hands-on scenario with retirement and Social Security. And that point forward, it was just, yep, this is what I want to do. Let me figure out how to do it. What's the best way to do it? What do I need to do it? And I just came across a bunch of podcasts. That was the first time I ever heard a podcast, was me searching for financial planning, retirement planning, business planning stuff.
So and you're corporate, you did it off to the side and you kind of got a taste of it and then just started digging in, like, how do I do this for myself?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even on the side. It was just, I still had my day job. It was just helping out a relative, trying to figure out what to do about Social Security. And just, boom, that was it. Like that was the aha moment. So I still continued working. That was 2016. Still continued working in my corporate job. But in the background, I was listening to everything I could about financial planning, the business, the industry, reading everything I could. Got the RICP designation 2017, did the CFP education 2018, took the test 2018.
Still corporate, right? Still corporate in 18?
Okay. Yeah, some of my experience qualified for CFP because I did prime brokerage, basically extending financing to hedge funds and some regulated funds on their portfolios. And we did have some really large family offices, like multi-billion-dollar clients that CFP board was okay with me saying that's individuals, because it was technically individuals' monies. So I got a couple years of credit for that.
Nice.
Plus, I'm also an adjunct at Rutgers, so I got Rutgers University, got some CFP credit for that. So I was able to cobble together my 3 years of CFP experience, passed the test, boom, became a CFP in 2018. And then 2019 did the IRS enrolled agent exams, knowing that 2019 would be the year that I'd leave the Wall Street world and start up my own thing. And so I did. So November 2019, I walked out of my last job and started this thing up.
So really interesting, Andy. I assume you and I are similar age. You're 39, 40, or 41, just based on when you graduated. Just doing the math here.
Yep, 43. Yep.
All right. So I added. I
get your math game up.
Stole a couple years.
The marketer.
So, I mean, 2016, 2017, 2018, this thing's starting to go on. The fuel's kind of, the flames growing in your belly. Are you starting to see, because our timeline was similar, I started to see kind of where I wanted to go. I left the corporate world in October of 2019. So,
okay.
Right where you did. Were you, when you're in the corporate Wall Street banking world, are you seeing things that you're starting to jive less with, or are you just seeing that you want to do something different? Like, how was that? How did you feel about that at the time?
The latter. I saw a lot, learned a lot, made a lot of good friends and connections in Wall Street. I don't regret anything I did by any means. I didn't do anything unscrupulous or nefarious. It was
sure.
Completely different market, completely different business, but it wasn't satisfying or soul fulfilling. I made good money. I helped hedge funds and private equity funds make more money by extending them financing, and so they can lever their portfolios. And it was a job, but I live in New Jersey. I commuted to Manhattan, so I had a grueling commute to and from every day. The hours themselves weren't great, so shackled to a desk for 8 to 6, let's call it. And the work itself just wasn't really fulfilling. So it was like, something's got to give. I can't be doing this till I'm 60. It just wanted to change, and couple that with the passion that I always had to want to do to help people. I feel I'm an educator at heart. Just synced up with that experience in 2016 of this aha moment of, wow, this is what real financial planning, real financial advice could and should be. It just all came together. The time was right. Personally, we were in a good spot financially, job wise, my wife, etc. So I was able to make this change. Banked up some money so I can have a huge cushion to give myself a multi-year runway to make this work, starting from zero. And it just all came together, and things clicked, and here I am.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, with that 3-year runway starting in 16, did you already start planning? Was that when you had the aha moment? Were you saving? You started studying? You sound like you were getting your test. That's pretty grueling to go through 3 years of already making that decision. You want to be somewhere else and working to get where you are now. So while we're looking at what people consider, I guess, the overnight success, you were doing all that crap in the background.
Yeah, it was nonstop. I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm sort of compulsive and have some ADD in a healthy way.
How did you study while going through that 8 to 6 hours? I have to imagine you were doing nothing but work.
Hour and a half on New Jersey Transit every day.
Nice.
No, seriously, that was the upside of the long commute. Just lots of time to do whatever. You can sleep, or you can read. You do something productive. You can read. You can study. You can listen to podcasts.
Quiet car.
Oh man, saw some fights in the quiet cars. Yeah. But yeah, I took full advantage of it. And there was nights and weekends I was home with the study books, doing the test preps online and stuff like that. And I enjoyed it, though. I didn't view it as a job, because I truly enjoyed the learning, the sense of, I know what I want to do with this. I have a goal clearly mapped out and, methodically planned what I want to do, when I want to do it. That's why I structured my test. RICP, CFP, EA. Like I planned this out years in advance, put the work in, put the time in. And yes, it was a boatload of effort and resources to do, but it all paid off well. And I'm happy I did it. Now, I wouldn't want to go back to having to do multiple years of like full-time studying on top of full-time work. But at the time, I was fully on board and laser focused, and it just worked.
Were you prospecting at the time? Were you building up back? Were you working on the side once you had a little bit of credentials and you felt comfortable, or did you really wait the full 3 years to go outside of family, I guess I'll say?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sort of. I did some local library seminars about Social Security. I didn't put myself out there as being in business because I couldn't. I didn't actually have an RIA at the time.
Right.
I think I did list the credentials after my name, but at the library presentation I did, it just said Andy Panko, RICP was the first one because I didn't have CFP yet, and I had my cell phone number and my Gmail number, Gmail email. So there's no reference to me going to do this as a business or me being in the business of doing this. It's just some guy who knows about this stuff who's giving his time to share the knowledge.
That's awesome. So you're building up, you're like trickling in. You're feeling it on the side, and then obviously you made the jump. So with your marketing, with your Facebook group, with your focus, with all that stuff, how did your business came to be, and how's your marketing, I guess, been working since you started?
So again, November 2019 is when I flipped the switch and went live, and I was doing the typical stuff I thought you're supposed to do. I did a couple of library seminars while when I was in business. I was trying to be active on social. I did a newsletter once a month. I had 50 people, all of which were friends and family initially. So that wasn't really getting me anywhere. I was on LinkedIn. I was on Twitter. I had a Facebook business page. I was getting myself a lot of quotes in Harrow, help a reporter out, getting news quotes. So I was sharing those articles. There's that glitch again. Sharing those articles across.
That's just video retention. I feel like it's in there on purpose. It's just like you're not paying attention. Bang. Okay, go ahead.
Posting links, posting comments on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Nothing really happened. I got a few prospect calls through being part of NAPFA. I was getting a couple inbound calls or emails a month from that. XY planning, I'm a member of that, although I don't really promote it. I'm really just a member for the tech discounts. XY isn't my demographic. But I got a couple inbound inquiries from that, but nothing panned out other than 4 friends and family who signed up as clients from November 1st when I started through, let's call it the pandemic in March. That was it. That was my only real business, and not even any real prospects other than those few dribblings of emails I got. Then the pandemic hit, and the library seminars stopped because I'm in New Jersey. We got shut down first and hard. So it wasn't even physically possible to go see people anymore. I'm like, wow, this isn't going to be good. So things just kind of died, and even the emails stopped. The emails from NAPFA, the emails through XY. I had 0 inbound activity from March through, I don't know, let's call it June roughly.
What's your headspace look like, Andy? You've gone from November to the pandemic. What are you thinking? Like, are you in an oh shit? Like, what did I get into here?
Thankfully, no, because I did plan. Like financially, we were okay. I was in a position where we banked up enough cash that I could have truly 0 revenue for over 2 years, and we're just living off cash. That's not tapping home equity. That's not tapping credit cards. It's not me having any other income. So I was like, no, we'll ride this out and whatever, I'll roll with it. But still, it wasn't a great feeling. I'm like, wow, starting from nothing, didn't have a lot of traction to begin with, and now that just completely died. So I had a little bit of like, wow, this fast forward a year. If nothing's happening in a year, I may have to revisit this, but otherwise, let's give it time to simmer and see what happens. And then Facebook group, completely game changer for me. So what happened is, and I was still doing posts on my Facebook business page, again, sharing the articles I was quoted in through Harrow, just making posts, just trying to tickle engagement out of people, but not much was happening. I get a few clicks and likes and whatever, but I don't know. I started a group, and I'd wanted to do a group for a while because of the engagement. Facebook page is kind of unilateral. You post stuff out there. Yeah, people can comment and like it, but there's not a lot of community or bilateral involvement. So I wanted to do a group because the group is basically a free for all. It's like, hey, here I am. Let's talk. It's collaborative. It's back and forth. It lives and breathes. But my archiving platform wasn't able to archive groups, and I wanted to do this stuff by the book. And being a registered investment advisory firm, I have to have all the stuff archived. So the archiving platform I used announced they were going to go live with beta archiving for Facebook groups effective April 1st. I was like, yeah, sign me up. They started the archiving, I think it's in early April. I was the first one on their beta platform, and within days I had my group up. Now, starting a group, I had 0 members, right? Day one, it's like, okay, now what do I do?
That's my question. How do you build that? How do you build that group?
Yeah. I wasn't quite sure what to do, but I knew I needed to get the word out. So I was a member of a few other, or am a member of a few other Facebook groups, a couple of different tax professional groups, XY Planning, FPA Activate, and something else. So what I did was blasted it to them. I was like, hey, I'm starting up this group. And I wasn't just like, hey, please come follow me. I wanted to make sure it was, something in it for them. I kind of sold it as, oh, and I should step back and say that I intentionally wanted to do a group about the tax aspects of retirement planning, because general retirement planning, general financial advice is a dime a dozen. People have beaten that horse to death. So what's not done, and it's not just within the Facebook group world, but in the advisory world, most people don't do anything with taxes. And the wirehouses go so far as to explicitly prohibit people from talking about taxes because it's too easy to mess up and there's too much liability with it. So when you're managing to the lowest common denominator knucklehead in your firm and you got thousands of advisors, you can't touch taxes. Because if and when you give bum advice, it's real easy to quantify in a tax return, hey, this cost me $708 more in taxes because of what you told me to do. Go pay me this back. So that's why I assume big firms don't let people discuss taxes. They say you got to talk to your CPA about it.
Quick pause while you're taking a break there, Andy. I want to know this. Were you a big Facebook user prior to building this group? What was your Facebook activity like on the personal and professional level?
Personal was minimal. Professional was me just being a member of a few other groups. Like I said, XY, a few different tax groups, FPA, and that's about it. But I was kind of a casual user.
Okay. So were you looking at it like my audience is there, whether or not I like the platform, my audience is on there?
Yes. My end goal was retirement focused business. People of that demographic, 50 plus, Facebook's where they're at. LinkedIn, maybe if you want to really hone in on a particular industry, or, I know you can look where someone works and then from that you can figure out other people work there, whatever. But for the most part, they're not on Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, definitely not. Instagram, no. Facebook, like, my parents are in their 70s now, but people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, Facebook's where they're at. So I knew Facebook would be the spot to do it. I knew I wanted to do it specifically about taxes, not just because I enjoy taxes and genuinely feel it's important, but because no one else is doing it. Or if they are, I weren't aware of anybody doing it. And it's such a disservice that most of the industry doesn't, because there's tax implications to virtually everything. And in my opinion, that's one of the biggest value adds you can do, is tie all the financial stuff together with sound tax minimization. Don't just play around with trying to overcomplicate the investment process, because that's not the value add anymore.
I agree. I think it kind of comes to with, taxes are where you end up. So it really is important in every single situation where you're always talking about, where do I net? Like, where do I actually end up? What does this look like to me? And that it's always a tax question, whether it's selling or where it goes, what buckets it's in. It's super important. One of the things, again, I see that you're taking off, and I'll let you continue, that we always say is not only talk about taxes, but improve your tax knowledge. That's the value you're going to bring to individuals.
Right. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Right.
Yeah.
The taxes always matter. The tax is a big thing that's always there in virtually every aspect of a financial life. Mm-hmm. Sorry, feel free to tell me to quiet down. I can get on a roll and just start ripping with this stuff once I'm going. So
no, so you're building your Facebook group, and I'm interested in how you did that. If you're spending any money on top of that, if you added into ads, and then how that led into where your YouTube page is going.
Right. So started the group day one, 0 followers. So I blasted it to those other groups, couple tax groups. And again, my selling point, and this is why I backed up to go back to taxes, was, hey, I'm joining this group. I started this group. It's going to be a tax efficiency in financial and retirement planning. So for you all in the tax preparers group, this could be a good value add to you, because you all know how to do taxes, but tax preparers usually don't look and plan down the road. They pin their value on, let me minimize your taxes today as much as possible. So if the sell to them was join me, have some discussions about how to beef up your knowledge and potential value adds for your tax prep clients about longer term tax planning. And then XY and FPA Activate are often sort of younger, more junior advisors. And my pitch to them was, join me. You can come learn about taxes as an advisor so that you can help your clients and whatever. I still am a moderator of someone else's group, a Social Security group that at the time had 3,000 or 4,000 people. and the guy who ran it was the group started to outgrow him and needed some help. And I was an active participant on his group. Goes back to your question, Corey. I guess I was pretty active in that group, the Social Security group. So he had made me an admin in his group a few months prior just to help him out because, he liked the things I was saying on the group. And so I also had a gateway there where I pitched it, announced the group within his group, which he was cool with,
Siphoned.
and siphoned off some of his followers. So within the first week or two, oh hell yeah, tactfully though, of course,
tactfully,
you can't be greasy about it.
Tactfully siphoning is the key.
It's an oxymoron. Yeah. So within the first week or two, I had 450 members in the group.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Do you
think that goes to show too, though, but you're the moderator, you're active in there, people know you? I mean, we talk about siphoning equity, but you can only siphon when you have some type of brand in place yourself.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like to think people joined because they knew me, they recognized me, they viewed me as sort of a trusted, knowledgeable contributor to those other groups, not just some rando looking for some cheap followers.
And how long were you in those groups? How many months were you kind of chatting in there before you went on your own?
I don't even know. I'm probably XY group I joined as soon as I found the XY podcast in 2016. So I was in there a few years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I think that matters for people because I think some people are like, all right, I'm going on Facebook. What do I do? I joined a bunch of groups. But again, everything that you've done to this day was a seed planted probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Looking back, right. I mean, I don't want to say superstar by any means, but I would like to think my name was recognized in those groups. I wasn't just some newbie coming out of nowhere saying, hey, please come follow me. But
it's smart. And let's make the point. Like, it's a really frictionless activity. You're playing in a platform, and we say siphon. You're not siphoning them out of Twitter to come to Facebook. You're just moving them. And that's really easy for people, or you're just adding to what they're already a part of. So that's a really kind of easy, frictionless activity for them.
And there's no limit to how many groups you can be a member of, right? So it's not like I'm stealing anyone. They're still members of those other groups. So
they just join yours. Yeah, exactly. They don't leave to come to you. They just you're just an also group. Yeah, cool.
Just another one.
Yeah.
And then the early days of that was just me trying to get engagement. I was posting, sharing the articles I was quoted in through Harrow again. I wrote some of my own articles that I posted up on LinkedIn. I'd share those. I'd share other articles.
Posting in your group, or was it also on your personal or your business page as well to try to get a little growing there? How were you posting?
Initially, I was blasting it everywhere. So on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on my Facebook business page, in the Facebook group. And then over time, the group started to take off. And it was multiple months. I mean, it's probably a couple months before it really got some traction, but I was just posting stuff, sharing other comments, other articles, whatever, slowly starting to get some people making their own posts, asking questions. And I was super responsive to make sure I would thoroughly answer every question / post someone had to really make it value add, not just, hey, it's me here pitching my own content and sharing links to articles I was in. And in my mind, I think that's what really differentiated this group and other groups like it. It was access to me. I gave away, and still do give away, boatloads of my time and knowledge and content to answer questions. I don't give specific advice. I'll never cross that line where I say, hey, convert $37,000 to your Roth this year. I answered generalizations, questions about taxes and when wouldn't something generally make sense and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So people got access to me, and over time, the word started spreading, I guess. Group members were referring me within other retirement groups, other financial groups, to the other friends, like, hey, this guy Andy is answering questions. He knows what he's talking about. So it just started snowballing. I was getting 10 to 20 joiners a week throughout.
Were you making any money at this time, or did that take time for the group to start to monetize?
I don't monetize the group at all currently. So no, it didn't then, and I'm not now. The first month was kind of slow. And then so May, June, I started getting 10, 20 joiners a week. And I was tactfully, again, dropping hints and referencing my group and other retirement groups I was in. So someone would ask a question like, hey, what's a Roth conversion? I'd say it's when you transfer money from IRA to a Roth. And if you're interested, I have a group where we discuss things just like this. So I would keep plugging myself, again, not in your face salesy, because I cringe at the thought of having to close or be the sales guy, but I realize I have to spread the word about this and do it in a not sort of greedy kind of way. So I kept, sharing the word in other groups, and that helped as well. And things just took off. Some point over last summer, June, July, the weekly joiners just hit the exponential growth curve. People started referring to other groups. I've since stopped promoting myself. I don't need to. Now it's this beast that's growing scary fast, actually.
So Andy, when this is happening, like last summer, it was just obviously crazy. Are you like you leave your office and you go and you're chatting with your wife, like, honey, you're not like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but this thing's like, are you having those conversations? Like,
yeah, well, my wife was fully on board. She thought it was cool too. And I did start getting clients from it. My first client from Facebook group came in June. It was someone who was a group member from the earlier days. I honestly don't remember where she found me through, like how she joined, but whatever. Reached out to me. Oh, and I think this is important too. So on the cover art of the group, it says Taxes and Retirement with moderator Andy Panko, CFP, RICPEA. Doesn't say Tenant Financial. There's no picture of me in a 3-piece suit. And even in the group, I rarely, if ever, say, this is what I do professionally. In passing comment, I may say, hey, when I'm working with a client, I'll say this or blah, blah, blah. But I never pitch myself. I never say, hey, give me your email, give me your phone number, set up a call. Here's a webinar, drop. I don't do any of that whatsoever. There's absolutely zero formal lead capture or funnel in that sense. And I think that really resonated. And that was sort of my intention, was let me be me. Let me just share my knowledge, which I enjoy doing. I'm the authentic me. I wear t-shirts. I got a big head and glasses. I'm not dressing up wearing a suit. It's just, this is me. This is what you get. This is what I sound like. And let me be me. And if and when people feel they want or need some sort of paid engagement, hopefully they'll take it upon themselves to look me up and reach out to me, because by that point, I will have been established as their trusted, respected professional who knows what he's doing, who seems honest, who seems legit, who's not salesy, etc. And that's what's been working. That's what's been happening, thankfully. My first client came that way. She reached out to me, found my website, Googled me, looked me up, whatever. Set up a call with me through my website, became a client. The rest is history.
There's so much. I feel like there's so many questions that people want to ask and get to. So I don't want to run out of time with some of this stuff. But I have to change gears a little bit to the YouTube thing and understand where you're at with that. I mean, that's obviously turned into its own behemoth for you, which, I mean, congratulations. I'm super impressed by what you got going on there.
I could have sworn when I tagged you before, when we were looking at the numbers, it was like 2,000 some. And then a week or two later, it jumped to 3. I mean, is it moving that fast, or am I wrong?
It's about 20 people a day joining. So
okay, maybe I was a little off. So I thought it was like 2.7, and then went to 3 point something. Maybe my numbers were off, but still, it's growing super fast. Do you obviously? So where are you at with your Facebook group, and how did that transfer into YouTube? Do you find that people are coming from there?
So Facebook is now 9,000 people. It's growing by like 300 people a week, which is I don't know what to do with this, honestly, at this point. I'm turning away business, thankfully. I'm able to be super selective with people who are reaching out to me, because I will discuss this later, and my business structure and stuff. But
yeah, so social media works for everybody kind of listening and watching.
Yeah,
well, I want to say it doesn't, because you can't just be pumping out pre-canned white label crap on LinkedIn. That's my opinion. Now, I'm sure there's lots of people who do that, and it works to some extent. But it's not. It's not you. Be you, and this is me, for better or worse. I'm sure as people look at me and be like, "Forget this guy. Looks like a slob." But other people see me, hear me, read me, and I resonate with them, right?
Like, you don't sound to present like a slob, and I think that's important when you're getting your personality out. I don't know if people look at you and they say, "There's no suit. I see a T-shirt," but I hear somebody who sounds confident and knowledgeable in terms of taxes, and if that's what I want, that's the person to follow. That's what I think we push all the time, and why personality is important.
Yeah, I think so. I had never bothered trying any of those white label advisor content services. And again, I know they work for some people, but I think a lot of it's just, you're not differentiating yourself. You're just passing around the same pre-canned crap that dozens of other folks are using, or hundreds of other folks.
It's terrible.
So YouTube channel, I started that in May. really just as a complement to the Facebook group. So I saw in my group and other retirement groups I was in, people asking the same types of things. What's a Roth conversion? When should I do a Roth conversion? What's an annuity? Typical things retirees and pre-retirees would ask. So I was like, let me make some pre-canned videos to address these things. So when someone asks, I can just boom, here's a link, here's an explanation. And that was it. That was my intention with YouTube. So started that in May, obviously with 0 subscribers. My first video was a real piece of crap looking back, called What is Retirement Planning? It's still up there if you want to see it. It's not really worth watching, but whatever.
Yeah, let's share it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, go ahead. It's still, I would have taken it down if I was that embarrassed by it. But
no, just for the sake of time. Everybody will go and check out your YouTube right after this, I'm sure.
So that's all. That was really just, I did YouTube to help me build the Facebook thing, because I thought that would be my real source of business development. And then YouTube just started growing. I don't know. It was, I don't have this all figured out by any means. I mean, I like to think I've been doing things right, but I'm not billing myself as like, I never thought I'd be a content guy or content creator. Ends up, I guess I am, which is cool. But I just kept making videos, and it was these, I do them as me. They're scripted, but it's kind of technical, kind of dry. But I'm not out for the flashy, here's 5 things you need to do today type videos. There's enough of that crap floating around. So I want to be me. This is my content. This is my message. This is how I talk, how I explain. And I wanted it to be technical without, being over everyone's heads. My goal is people who are well-versed DIYers who want that next level of knowledge. That's who I speak to.
Hey, Andy, a lot of guys that Ryan and I talk to, they struggle with this idea of the peer, not necessarily peer pressure, but peers watching. And they're like, I've never done this stuff, and I'm afraid to step into this world of putting myself out there for the thought of what my peers may think. And when I think of your background, especially some of that buttoned up Wall Street stuff, not that they're bad people, it's just that that's not generally, the content creation is not something that takes place on that corporate Wall Street level. Yeah. Any thoughts that you had as you had to break through that and get comfortable with that, knowing your peers are watching you?
I don't make it. You mean peers in the planning business, or my prior peers from my
prior
corporate
peers?
Days?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't care. It never bothered me. I mean, obviously, I like, I do care what people think about me. I don't want to be viewed as a complete jack, but for the most part, no, I'm confident in me, and I do me. And some people are going to think I'm flighty for having left, the corporate world and what people view as a good job, great career. And it was, but I just got tired of it. But no, I'm not concerned what they think about me. I think a lot of them actually like it and they respect it, what I did.
Success is each person's definition. I think we all realize that at this point, whether it's money or lifestyle or whatever we're looking for. So leaving a good job means, usually to people, it means you left a higher paying job and make less money. But that never equates to less success, I feel.
Exactly. So the content I wanted to make and started making with YouTube was just, I wanted to teach. Whether it was advisors watching or the educated DIYers who want that next level knowledge with the tax focus, I just wanted to teach. And my hope was indirectly, this would all sort of help build awareness of me, would help build, again, make me that sort of trusted, respected professional in this area, without me ever being salesy. Other than in the intro to each video, I say, I'm the owner of 10 Financial. That's it. I don't ask for numbers. I don't say, call me up. I don't say, let's talk. It's just, here's the content.
Yep.
And that just started clicking as well, getting more likes, more subscribers. I never would have, I've gotten clients from it, which I never would have expected. I always just viewed that as it's just a repository of my videos that I can have links to share on Facebook. That's what I thought YouTube would be for me. But I now have 3,800 subscribers. I started monetizing in November once you hit 1,000 subscribers. And I never planned on doing that either, because I thought maybe I get a few hundred followers and I'd be done. But I hit the 1,000 mark. And even then I was like, I'm not going to bother. I don't want to be that guy because I don't want to run ads in front of the videos. I feel it's obnoxious. Like, I don't like watching ads as a YouTube watcher. And then my wife was like, you're kind of silly if you don't. It's right there. You don't have to do anything. You just
we're all used to it anyway.
Yeah. Well, that too. So I did. So I turned on monetization, figuring I'd get maybe a few bucks a month. And at this point, I'm doing like $400 a month.
That's so awesome.
Just from content that I made for free, that I was going to put out for free anyway. It's like, why not? It's
hilarious. I mean, eventually, like, you're going to be building your business and paying your mortgage with your YouTube
content.
money.
Yeah.
And so I'm at this point, I don't know what to do with this stuff. Like YouTube, again, I never would have pictured myself as being a content guy or making money off it or having a following more than a few hundred people. Facebook group, beyond my wildest expectations. That scares me how fast it's growing. I don't know what to do with that. So my first and my goal is my advisory business. I want to build my advisory business that as of now will always be my focus. Now, at some point, years down the road, who knows? Maybe I start trimming that down and do focus more on being this media guy, but that's not my intention now. And I'm not sure what to do. I don't want to turn any of these things off. I don't want to completely remove myself from them. But it sort of concerns me, which just sounds funny to say, but the growth these things are having leads a lot of questions about the future. What am I going to do with it? Where do I go professionally as a content guy versus an advisor?
What a good problem with too much attention. And I want to lead you into now the AUM model because one, Anthony has an appointment at 10:30 and has to leave. But the other reason is because, but the other reason is because I think your content leads back into exactly what you're doing and how your business functions. So why don't you talk about your fee service and why you passionately go against and object to the AUM model?
Sure. So I had the benefit of starting from scratch. I was building a business from the ground up. I wanted to do it what I think is the best way, what I think is not the way of the future, but I had no preconceived notions or biases or restrictions around how I had to do things. It was a completely blank slate. I firmly feel Percent of Aum is dumb. It's lazy. It's arbitrary. Now, there is no perfect fee model. I fully acknowledge, and my model isn't perfect by any means, but I genuinely feel it's better. And I think it is the trend we're going to see. Percent of Aum is not going away in our lifetime. I think it will keep losing some of its prevalence to flat fees and hourly fees. But I've always felt asset size, even before I was actually doing this business. I've worked with hedge funds and private equity funds. They 2 and 20. They charge on asset size. So I've always been around that model. It just doesn't make sense. Now, investment management, when that's all you did was investment management, and here's a little artifact I brought for you. You know what this is, anybody? A paper trade blotter.
That's awesome.
They used to have these before computers existed. I found a friend of mine works at an asset manager. They had these in the closet 10 years ago, just sitting there. They're going to throw them out. I was like, cool, let me have one. That's where Percent of Aum belongs, in the closet. It's a relic. So when the model used to just be investment management, and it was much more hands-on, there wasn't all these cheap, easy, and commoditized ways to do investment management well, i.e. auto rebalancing software, ETFs, things like that. Yes, it was a lot more manual. It still wasn't directly linear, the amount of work involved to asset size, but it was a lot more manual. Hence, as you can see from paper trade blotters, where you had some monkey filling these things out that run it to some guy who typed it in and blah, blah, blah. Now, most of planning and advisory isn't investment management, or if it is, you're kind of fooling yourself that that's your value add. It's the planning. It's the other holistic help and advice, to which asset size is a horrible indicator of the amount of time, complexity, and resources necessary to properly serve a client. Even if you're doing investment management, asset size alone is just a bad indicator. So why pretend like it still makes sense? And I have some notes. Again, feel free to stop me. I get passionate about this stuff, and I'll keep running until you slap me.
Throw in questions, guys. If you have something you want to combat against, or something you want to bring up, or a topic, obviously throw it in. But I want to let you keep going, Andy. And if I see a reason to jump in, I'll do so.
Cool. Now, I should say, I have spoken with a lot of advisors that they reach out, they're intrigued with the fee model and would like to try to do it, but they're kind of hamstrung. They're in this position where they already have an established business built on Percent of Aum. I talked with 3 people in the last couple of weeks about it who want to go to flat fees, and they're like, I don't know how to do it. I'm going to have to tell some people to pay more. And on the other end, I'm going to have clients paying 20, 30 grand. I'm going to have to say, you know what, you've been paying too much. My fee now is only 10 grand, for example. So it's really hard, even if you fully buy into the idea of it, it's really hard to transition from Percent of Aum to It's a flat fee at this point.
So
And I
hard to
get
go
that.
back, and I don't want to consider AUM variable annuity business by any means, but it's stuck in that sense where you don't want to go back and tell somebody, hey, I've been doing this
Yeah.
to you, and now all of a sudden I'm providing this new value. It makes it hard to recur that conversation. Sure.
Yeah. So to be fair, here's the pros of percent of AUM. One, it's always been that way. It works. Two, it's very easy to understand and implement, right? No matter what custodian you're on, it's super simple to bill. You tell them take out 1% or 25 basis points each quarter from these accounts. Boom, it's done. Clients understand it. Everyone understands it. Super simple to digest. Very scalable and highly profitable, particularly for advisors who are able to institute high minimums and be selective with their clients. There's no wonder why places like Fisher have a $500,000 minimum, and other places obviously, follow suit as well with setting minimums. You just simply weed out the ability to make less than 10 grand per relationship by setting yourself some minimum. And I should say, I'm a capitalist. I'm in this to make some money and make a living, but I also view this as much, if not more, from a consumer advocate. Because I came into this industry, I was in the industry, but came into the retail side from the outside. So, I looked in, I saw what I liked, what I didn't like, what I thought it made sense from an independent observer. That's what's formed all my beliefs about, all this stuff.
So Andy, if just for a second, are you managing money?
Yes.
But it's just zero? You're charging the flat fee that they pay out of their own pocket, but nothing comes out of the account?
No. So I do bill out of accounts.
Okay.
So to the extent clients have assets with me, then yes, the fee comes out of their account, just like percent of AUM comes out of their account.
Okay.
For clients that don't have assets, they can pay, by check, by ACH, whatever. But generally speaking, not generally, but everyone I have now has assets with me. My fee just comes out of their account each quarter. Just the same like percent of AUM.
It looks like Nick threw that in, but I think I just answered that, or I think you just answered that as well. Are you pulling fee from a credit card? So maybe in some cases, but it sounds like for you, it's been assets that you're already holding.
Yeah, all of my clients have assets with me. My ADV says I can charge from credit card. Practically speaking, I probably wouldn't take a client, where I'm charging $7-8 grand a year on credit card, because that, hefty fee. I could, but I don't need to, and I tried not to.
I've always questioned that as a kind of something to lean on. Like, that feels difficult for me. If I'm going to bring, whatever, 300, 400, 500 grand to you for my retirement accounts, that doesn't necessarily mean I want to fork over $8,000 of liquid cash.
Right.
So I've always, I love that you're able to take that from that qualified or whatever that retirement asset.
It's hard to find the perfect way because nobody usually has cash sitting on the side to be able to do that. So you take from the money, but do you sell something, put dividends and interest, add the cash so that you can pull it out? I mean, like you said, there's no perfect way, I feel like, to do this. So we're always trying to figure that out.
And for what it's worth, most clients have the majority of their money in tax deferred accounts. The fee that comes out of that's coming out of tax-free money. So clients are saving tax on the fee in that sense. So it's better to have them have their fee deducted from a qualified account as opposed to paying out of pocket. So it actually makes sense for them too in most cases.
I'm thinking that's exactly what Anthony was just saying.
Yeah,
Better to bill from the IRA pre-tax
Okay.
for the client. And I don't know if you could see that and we're bringing it up, but you just happen just happen to tie right in perfectly.
See, we think alike.
Yeah, at least in that specific instance.
No, I had a call with him a couple months back. I reached out. He's a great guy, tremendous respect for what he does, and I know he's percent of AUM. I'm not knocking him at all. I'm knocking the industry. And like I mentioned, I know it's a prickly thing to be in when you're sitting on this golden goose of percent of AUM, and you've been doing it for decades. You can't just flip the switch and change it, and I recognize that. Some of the cons of AUM, it's arbitrary, like I said. Now, coincidentally, yes, the asset size may sync up with how much time and resources and energy you have to expend on the client, but that's just coincidence. Cut the chase. Don't pretend like asset size is what got you to that right fee. If you want to bill on complexity, great. I like the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners has this complexity-based thing. And I think it's too complicated. It's all these multifacets and nonsense, but fundamentally makes the most sense. You're charging for what time and service and resources you're providing. I like that idea. Just an example.
Do you charge financial planning fees, Andy?
No, it's all rolled into one.
Okay.
So I have a flat fee, typically $7,200 for single folks, $84 for married. It includes the initial plan, it includes ongoing planning, it includes investment management, it includes tax planning, which is just laced throughout anyway.
You refer out all commissionable items,
I'm fee only.
insurance, anything?
Exactly.
Okay.
No
Good.
brokerage, no insurance licenses intentionally. It was important for me to be fee only. I also think that, here's a quick tangent. So my ideal picture of what the financial advice industry should look like will be like the medical field. And medical field's not perfect, but you don't have a pharmaceutical sales rep giving you advice about what to do. Because you're going to say, hey, I have a headache. They're going to sell you on buying some malaria medication because it pays more than them just selling you some Tylenol, right? Now, maybe it's overkill, maybe you only have a headache, but guess what? This is suitable enough for you. I'm going to sell it to you, whatever. I'm going to get off on a rant here, but that's how I feel about like insurance salespeople billing themselves as advisors. Products are important. Products are needed, but there needs to be a delineation between the person who's compensated solely from selling that product versus the person who's giving advice. In the medical world, the doctors are like the gatekeepers. Not that all doctors are on the up and up, but in theory, they're the gatekeepers. They're the fiduciaries. They just advise. They give prescriptions. They give guidance. They don't sell product. They tell you, I think you need to buy this product. Here's your prescription. You go to the pharmacy to buy it. Product sales is completely cut out from the actual giving of advice.
Here's something I'm interested too, and I completely agree. I think you and Anthony and all of us would agree from that extent, especially that there's a place for that, place for products, but a specific place. When you're bringing in new business, the only way you're going to get paid is if you roll over money. So without paying that initial planning fee, how does your process work? What do you say to an individual when the only way you can do that is pull out? Do you do the planning process and hoping it moves? Do you sign a contract that just gets the process started? Like, how do you work?
That's the risk I take. And that's me as a business person, the conscious decision I make where, yes, there's no commitment. My contract, I think technically you have to give 14 days advance notice to get out, but I take nothing up front. So someone signs up today for an $8,400 annual ongoing engagement. Put in all the work in the first few weeks, getting the info, hooking up an e-money, doing the plan with them, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing stopping them from leaving the next day. And I'm aware of that, and I'm taking that risk. So the other part of my goal with my business was to be super simple and understandable. Again, flat fee. I like the complexity-based idea, but it gets too squirrely and carried away. My goal was I'm selective with who I work with. Everyone's going to be more or less in the same stage of life, have the same general planning needs. I do flat out turn away people who have things that aren't my wheelhouse, special needs planning, business planning, international matters. I don't do it. So I pick the clients to fit the service model I want to offer, such that they're all more or less going to have the same service and planning needs from me. Hence, a flat fee makes sense. Sometimes I'll charge a little more if they own a rental property or do have a little side hustle or whatever, but otherwise, the fee is the fee. Now, yes, that's the risk I take. And my hope is these will be ongoing relationships for multiple years, but nothing stopping someone from turning away next month and I get skunked. So be it. That's my fault.
Has it happened to you yet? I'm guessing not by your tone.
It hasn't yet. I do have a client that signed up a couple months ago. Accounts are opened, just like MIA at this point. I don't know. Lives in Texas. I lost power for a while, a few weeks back, but otherwise, I'm not sure. I'm going to follow up again today, so I don't know what happened there. Now, for what's worth, I didn't do that much work yet, other than open accounts, had the intro meeting, gathered some info. We haven't gone through the actual plan yet. She hasn't even set that up, so who knows? Maybe this one goes away pretty soon, but.
Hey guys, we got 5 minutes for Andy too. So if you have questions, get them in while he's rolling this stuff out. We'll try to jam in as much as we can before we got to jump off.
I want to go back to one John asked a little while back about incorporating both, letting the client decide AUM or fee base. What are your thoughts on that, Andy?
Again, there's no right or wrong answer. There's better answers, in my opinion. There's different ways to do this. Like even in some sense, people who work at some of the big insurance / wirehouses, you have an option. You want to buy a product, fine. I can get paid on this product. You want a fee only type of engagement where I'm just doing a plan, I can do that as well. That works. I admit I'm a little too vocal, a little too hard line on the fee only, the hourly thing. I fully acknowledge that, but that's because I genuinely feel it's not 100% right, but it's definitely the best model. Hell yeah, compared to commission only. even compared to percent of AUM, flat fee or hourly is right. Now, for what it's worth, I think hourly is the most logical because you're truly billing for what you're doing, but it's never going to work in an advisory relationship because people are going to be hesitant to pick up the phone or email you because they don't want to run the clock. So that's not going to work.
It creates an attorney relationship. Yeah. And we need to be ongoing. You're right. And one of the things you described to me that I'll throw out to everybody, which I'm sure you can grab on your own, was Andy's flat fee being focusing on an individual, not on their AUM, brings value compared to the $1 million person from the $2 million person, charging that person. I think usually people start dropping their fee down from 1% when you're getting up to that amount of money, but still it ends up paying a couple $1,000s more just because they have more and you're not doing anything extra. And I think that's what you're so big about. Do you mind if I hit you with a few quick questions before we get out of here? See if we can try to do a speed round.
Sorry for talking so much. I get passionate about this stuff, and
we block an hour off for these things, and it's a good guest is never enough time. You never have enough time for a good guest. So Nick Nielsen, I'll throw in a couple of his, and I'll jump into Justin. How much of your business is local?
My mom, and that's it. Literally, nice. Everyone else is throughout the country.
Do you bill quarterly?
Yes.
Cool. Justin, what is your client retention rate, renewal rate on your annual planning fees?
So I've only been in business since November 2019 and only had my first real non-friends or family client since June of last year. So I'm batting 100 so far, or batting 1,000 so far, but haven't passed that 1 year yet. And no one's left me yet other than, like I mentioned, that one's been MIA. So who knows what's going to happen with that.
Okay.
And I only have 24 clients now. My goal is to get to 40 or 50 and I'm done. I don't want to hire anybody. I'm not looking to build an empire. I don't want to make $1 million a year. It'd be nice, but that's not my goal. So I'm halfway to meet my target.
After your 40 or 50 clients is when you'll start to make that switch and say, okay, I'm cutting it here, but now I can be the media guy and start spending my time, popping up places if you felt like it.
Yeah, maybe.
That's one thing I want to ask Andy, which Justin asked a while back. Thoughts on your capacity to create as much content as you want? Like, are you running up in your head against the ceiling of ideas that you just can't get to?
I'm running out of ideas. So you look at the YouTube videos, the ones I did early on, those were all the ones that I had like brew and waiting to go. They're already covered. Like they're sort of timeless topics, a lot of those things. So I am running low on new ideas to do, which I know any good content creator would be like, this guy's an absolute idiot because you can never run out of ideas. That just shows like I'm not in this mindset of let me just create. I did stuff that I thought was worth it and timeless and will be around. I do have some other ideas I want to do, but I am running up against constraints of just time. As my advisory business grows, Facebook will consume as much of me as I let it. And I'm already backing myself out of that and have someone else help me administer that group. So I do need to get better with my time blocking, time management, because now I'm getting pulled, I don't want to stretch myself too thin.
Hey guys, we have a 10:30. We're gonna have to go. Andy, I appreciate you being on here 1,000%. It was awesome to have you talk. I'm sure we could bring you on for a whole nother show and lead into. I actually leaned more into marketing than I even thought to. So I really did want to get into AUM. I think those two could have been separate episodes, honestly.
Sure.
I think you have a lot to say. And being in your infancy, I'd be really excited to let a few months play out, bring you back on here, see how things are going, hopefully see your Facebook at 50,000, seeing where you're taking off from there. So again, appreciate your time 1,000%. Thanks for being here.
Thank you guys. Yeah, I love what you do. Keep it going. This is great content, great info for the rest of us. So thank you very much. And I appreciate having me on.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man.
Dude.
Great to meet you, man.
Cool.
Great
Thank you all.
Cool.
Take care.
All right, guys, we are going to, sorry, Eric, fee for service plus a management fee. I think you're asking whether he would want that or not. Or if you think that makes sense. I think a lot of us are combining that which way. Check out his website, check out his content. Again, very interesting to see how well it's working. The fact that it's an hour, you could say it feels dry, but again, if that's who he's speaking to and it just works, what works. So I was happy for Andy to come on here, talk about how he actually built and what it looks like, what you see real marketing, how long it takes. But when it hits and when it turns that corner, it can spike. And that's the cool thing about it. I don't promise that to anybody. We never do, Corey, but it's nice to see the snowball happen.
Yeah, we'll have to bring him on again. There's a lot more we could cover. I don't want to eat, it hurts me to eat into someone else's paid time right now. So I'm going to, push us to get off here.
I'm ending right now because I don't want to do that. So everybody have a good day. And again, thanks for joining us and being here. you know, if you guys missed anything, Nikki, thanks for jumping in at the end. If you missed anything, obviously this is going to post in a second, so we'll see you guys soon. Have a good day. All right, I'm already up on Zoom, so I'm going to let him in, and then
I'll meet you.
All right,
Andy, thanks, man.
See you, man. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate your time, dude.